Caleb Mercer was 36 years old and he worked as a delivery dispatcher for a furniture warehouse in Columbus, Ohio. On a gray Tuesday morning in March, he stood in his small kitchen with one shoe on, one shoe off, and a cold cup of coffee beside the sink. His phone buzzed on the table, low balance alert. He stared at the screen longer than he needed to. The message was only a few words, but it felt heavy. Under the phone were 3 receipts, an unopened electric bill, a grocery list, and a blue envelope from his car insurance company. The apartment was quiet, but Caleb's mind was not. He was not poor in a dramatic way. He had a job. He paid rent. He had food in the fridge. He had an old Honda Civic that still started most mornings. From the outside, his life looked normal, but inside his head, everything felt crowded. There was always something to pay, something to answer, something to clean, something to buy, something to fix, something to become. Before he left for work, he picked up the electric bill and placed it on top of the microwave. Then he moved it back to the table. Then he grabbed his coffee and forgot it there. By the time he reached the parking lot, his phone buzzed again. A sale notification. 40% off winter jackets. He did not need a jacket. Still, he opened the ad. At the warehouse office, Caleb spent most of the day answering calls from drivers, checking delivery windows, and calming down customers who wanted their couches delivered faster. His desk had 2 monitors, a stack of sticky notes, a half-empty bag of chips, and a drawer full of old chargers he never used. His coworker Bryce leaned over the cubicle wall around noon. "A few of us are going to Nashville this weekend," Bryce said. "Just 2 nights. You should come." Caleb smiled like he was interested. "Sounds fun," he said. It did sound fun. It also sounded expensive. Gas, food, hotel, drinks, and the kind of small spending that did not feel serious until Monday morning. "You deserve a break," Bryce said. Caleb nodded. That sentence always worked on him. You deserve a break. You deserve new shoes. You deserve takeout. You deserve one more thing. By the end of the workday, Caleb had not said yes to the trip, but he had not said no either. He drove home through slow traffic, listening to a podcast he was not really hearing. Cars moved like tired animals under the evening lights. When he got home, he opened his apartment door and felt the same small shame he felt every night. His living room was not dirty exactly, but it was full. A cardboard box from an online order sat near the door. 2 jackets were on the chair. A pile of mail leaned against a lamp. A pair of running shoes he had bought in January but rarely used sat beside the TV stand. The apartment felt like a place where every object had stopped halfway. Caleb dropped his keys into a bowl and stood still. For the first time that day, he did not turn on the TV. He looked at the kitchen table. Receipts, bills, phone, ads, notes, a coffee mug from the morning. He suddenly felt tired of touching the same mess every day. Not just the mess on the table, the mess in his mind. He did not have one huge problem. That was what confused him. There was no big disaster to point at. No single moment where everything fell apart. Instead, his life had become heavy in small pieces. A subscription he forgot about. A shirt he did not need. A drawer he could not open easily. A weekend plan he could not afford but wanted to accept. A phone that pulled his attention before he even brushed his teeth. A quiet fear that other people were moving faster than him. Caleb sat down at the table and pulled one receipt toward him. It was for takeout from last Friday, $18.72. Then another receipt, coffee and breakfast sandwich, $9.40. Then another, a phone case, $16. None of them looked terrible alone. Together, they looked like a person trying to feel better for 10 minutes at a time. Caleb opened a drawer beside the sink and found an old white envelope. He wrote one word on it with a black marker. Receipts. Then he put every receipt from the table into the envelope. It was not a big action. It did not fix his bank account. It did not make him disciplined. It did not make him wise, but the table looked a little clearer. And because the table looked clearer, his mind felt a little less trapped. He did one more thing. He opened the electric bill. The number was not as bad as he feared. It was still annoying, but it was not a monster. It was just a bill. He paid it from his phone before he could avoid it again. Then he placed the empty envelope from the bill in the trash. That night, Caleb did not change his whole life. He did not make a perfect budget. He did not clean the apartment. He did not become a new man. He only put receipts in one envelope and paid one bill. But before bed, he noticed something strange. The problem had felt bigger when he did not look at it. The next morning, Caleb woke up to his alarm and reached for his phone. His hand touched the charger cable, but the phone was not there. He had left it on the kitchen counter by accident. For a few seconds, he felt nervous, like he was missing part of himself. Then he got out of bed and walked to the kitchen. The apartment was still dim. The street outside was quiet. The kitchen table was not perfect, but it was better than yesterday. He saw the receipt envelope in the clear space around it. That small, clear space gave him an idea. That evening after work, he opened the junk drawer. Everyone had one, and Caleb's was terrible. Inside were batteries, rubber bands, coupons, old keys, broken pens, a tape measure, 2 birthday candles, and a small screwdriver he had been looking for since October. He almost closed it again. The drawer looked like his mind felt. Too many small things, no clear place, no decision made. He wanted to clean the whole apartment, but that thought made him tired. So he told himself something simple. One drawer before the whole life. He took out everything and placed it on that counter. He threw away the dead pens. He put the batteries in a small plastic bag. He placed the screwdriver in the toolbox under the sink. He kept only what belonged there. 20 minutes later, the drawer opened and closed easily. Caleb stood there with his hand on the handle. It was only a drawer, but it gave him a feeling he had not felt in a long time. Control. Not control over the whole world, not control over his future, his job, or other people's opinions. Just control over one small place. That was enough for one night. On Thursday, the resistance came back. It came after a bad day at work. A delivery truck broke down on the west side of the city. A customer yelled at Caleb for something he could not change. His manager asked him to stay late and finish the schedule for Friday morning. By the time Caleb got home, his shoulders felt tight. He was hungry. The fridge had leftovers, but leftovers felt boring. His phone showed an ad for a new pair of wireless headphones. The ad said they would help him focus. Caleb laughed once, but not because it was funny. He already had headphones. 1 pair in his backpack, 1 pair in his desk drawer, 1 old pair in the car. Still for a moment, he wanted them. Not because of the headphones, because buying them would feel like movement. It would feel like a small escape from the day. His thumb hovered over the button. Then he looked at the receipt envelope on the table. He placed the phone face down. The urge did not disappear. It stayed there, uncomfortable and loud. Caleb walked to the fridge, took out the leftovers and heated them in the microwave. He ate at the table without watching anything. At first, the quiet felt strange. He could hear the hum of the refrigerator and a car passing outside. He felt restless. Then he felt sad. Then under the sadness, he felt honest. He was not tired because he had too little. He was tired because he kept reaching for more when he needed rest. After dinner, he wrote one sentence in an old notebook. "I keep buying small things when I feel out of control." He looked at the sentence for a long time. It did not accuse him. It just told the truth. That night, Caleb made his first real rule. Wait 24 hours before buying anything that is not necessary. He wrote it on a sticky note and placed it on the kitchen cabinet. The next day, the rule met its first test. At lunch, Bryce brought up Nashville again. "So, are you coming?" Bryce asked. "We found a cheap hotel." Caleb opened his lunch container. Turkey sandwich, apple slices, and the last few chips from the bag at home. "How cheap?" Caleb asked. Bryce told him. It was not cheap enough. Caleb wanted to say yes anyway. He imagined the photos, the music, the feeling of being included. He imagined Monday morning too, when the gas, hotel, food and drinks would sit quietly in his bank account like a bruise. "I'm going to pass this time," Caleb said. Bryce looked surprised. "Really? You never go anywhere?" Caleb felt the words hit him. He wanted to defend himself. He wanted to say he had plans, or he was busy, or maybe next time. Instead, he said, "I'm keeping the weekend quiet." Bryce shrugged. "Your call." It was not a cruel moment. Bryce moved on. The office kept moving. Phones rang. Printers clicked. Someone laughed near the break room. But Caleb sat there with a strange feeling in his chest. He had said no, and the world did not end. That Saturday, Caleb woke up early because his body expected work. For a moment, he reached for his phone. Then he remembered another small change he had made. The phone was charging across the room. He had moved the charger to the kitchen the night before. It had felt almost silly when he did it, but now he had to stand up before he could scroll. Standing up changed everything. Instead of taking the phone back to bed, he made coffee. Then he put on his old running shoes and walked around the apartment complex without headphones. The morning air was cold, but clean. A woman in a red coat walked her dog near the mailboxes. A man carried laundry to his car. Somewhere a child laughed behind a closed door. Nothing special happened. That was the special part. Caleb walked for 25 minutes, without music, without news, without voices in his ears. His thoughts moved slowly at first. Then they began to settle. He thought about the Nashville trip. He thought about the headphones he did not buy. He thought about the drawer. He thought about how much of his life had been filled with noise that promised comfort, but gave him more pressure. When he got back inside, he did not feel amazing. He felt steady. That afternoon, Caleb opened his bank account and looked at the numbers carefully. Usually, he checked the balance only when he was afraid. This time, he checked it like a person looking at a map. He wrote down rent, electric, car insurance, groceries, gas, and the phone bill. Then he wrote down every subscription he could remember: music, streaming, cloud storage, a fitness app he had not opened in months, a meal planning app he had downloaded in January, a second streaming service he kept because One show was on it, even though he had finished the show last summer. Caleb canceled 2 of them. The savings were small, but again the feeling was not small. He was not becoming rich. He was becoming aware. That difference mattered. On Sunday evening, Caleb did another quiet thing. He packed lunch for Monday before bed. Nothing fancy, just rice, chicken, and vegetables in a plastic container. He placed it on the middle shelf of the fridge where he could not miss it. Then he chose 3 tasks for Monday on a sticky note. Pay car insurance, return library book, call mom, only 3. His usual list had 15 things and made him feel defeated before he began. This list looked almost too simple, but when he looked at it, he felt something open in his chest. Maybe a strong mind did not come from caring more. Maybe it came from caring what mattered. Monday tested him before noon. His manager, Ellen, called him into her office and asked if he could take over part of another dispatcher's schedule for the week. Someone was out sick. The work needed to be done. Caleb almost said yes automatically. He often did that. Yes came out of his mouth before his mind had time to think. Then he spent the rest of the week angry, tired, and proud in a way that did not help him. This time he paused. I can help with the morning calls, he said, but I can't take the full schedule. Ellen looked at him for a second. Morning calls would still help, she said. That was it. No argument, no punishment, no dramatic speech. For years, Caleb had believed that if he did not give everything, people would be disappointed. But sometimes people only needed a clear answer. That evening, he paid the car insurance. He returned the library book through the drop box. Then he called his mother in Dayton while he folded laundry. His mother talked about her neighbor's new fence, her church group, and a leak under the sink. Caleb usually half listened while scrolling. This time his phone was on speaker, face down on the table. You sound calmer, she said near the end. Caleb smiled. Do I? A little, she said. Less rushed. He looked around the apartment. It was still ordinary. There were still dishes in the sink. A laundry basket still sat near the couch. The carpet needed vacuuming, but the apartment no longer felt like it was winning. A few weeks passed. Caleb did not become perfect. Some nights he still watched too many videos. Once he bought takeout after a hard day even though food was at home. Another time, he almost ordered a jacket because the sale timer said only 2 hours were left. But the difference was that he noticed. Before, his habits moved faster than his mind. Now his mind had a little space to stand up. He kept the receipt envelope on the table. Every Sunday he emptied it and looked at what he had spent. Not with shame, just with honesty. He cleaned one small area each week, a drawer, a shelf, the floor of the closet, the trunk of his car. He kept charging his phone in the kitchen. He kept the 24-hour rule. He kept choosing 3 tasks instead of 20. Simple living did not mean his life became empty. It meant fewer things were allowed to boss him around. One Friday in April, Caleb met Bryce and 2 other co-workers after work at a burger place near the warehouse. He had not stopped seeing people. He had not become strange or closed off. He ordered a burger and water. When everyone talked about buying new gear for summer, Caleb listened. He did not judge them. He knew the feeling. He knew the small excitement of wanting something new. Bryce showed him a picture of a new smartwatch. You should get one, Bryce said. It tracks everything. Caleb smiled. I'm trying to track less right now. Bryce laughed. That sounds like something my grandfather would say. Maybe your grandfather was onto something. They both laughed and the conversation moved on. Caleb did not feel above anyone. He simply felt less pulled. That was new. On the drive home, the sky over Columbus was soft and pale. The city lights were beginning to come on. Caleb passed a shopping center where he used to stop when he felt bored. He remembered walking through those bright aisles with no real plan, picking up things that promised a better version of himself. Better shoes, better water bottle, better planner, better jacket, better lamp, better life. But the better life had not been inside those things. Not really. It had been inside the small pause before reaching. It had been inside the drawer he cleaned, inside the bill he opened, inside the walk without headphones, inside the quiet meal, inside the honest sentence, inside the word no. When he got home, Caleb parked near the back of the apartment lot. He sat in the car for a moment before going inside. His phone buzzed. Another sale. He looked at it, then turned the screen off. Not angry, not tense, not proud, just done. Upstairs, his apartment smelled faintly like coffee and laundry detergent. The kitchen table had a notebook, a pen, and one envelope on it. The old mess was not completely gone, but it no longer covered every inch. Caleb took off his jacket and placed it on the hook by the door. Then he made dinner. Rice, eggs, spinach, and a little hot sauce. He sat at the table and ate slowly. No video, no podcast, no scrolling. Outside, someone's car alarm beeped once. A neighbor's door closed. The refrigerator hummed. For a long time, Caleb had believed silence would show him everything missing from his life. But now silence showed him something else. It showed him that he had enough to begin again. After dinner, he opened the notebook and wrote one sentence. A simple life gives my mind room to choose. He read it twice. That was what had changed. His job was still busy. His car was still old. His rent was still due on the first of every month. He still had lonely nights. He still had bills, pressure, and days when he wanted to escape into noise. But he was no longer letting every small pressure become his master. He could wait. He could choose. He could say no. He could clean one drawer instead of hating the whole apartment. He could pay one bill instead of fearing all bills. He could walk without needing to be entertained. He could live with less and feel more awake. Simple living had not made Caleb's world smaller. It had made his mind stronger. And for the first time in a long time, ordinary life did not feel like a weight he had to escape. It felt like a place he could finally breathe.